Welcome back to the Torque Test channel. We got plenty for you on this one. Makita's latest impact driver in the market, DeWALT's latest out this week, DCF845 20V XR impact driver that by the specs should be their highest performer yet, and we'll see comparing it to the Atomic DCF850, all up against the latest from Milwaukee, the Gen 4, a return of that one to the channel to see if our replacement meets a similar fate as our first one by giving up the ghost. This is the new $150 DCF845. I'd say all new, but it looks quite similar to their recent DCF840 with a selector switch added. That said, it's boasting 1,825 inch-pounds, which for DeWALT is leading figures, though matching exactly with their also $150 tiny Atomic DCF850 little animal. So we might be able to solve that quandary for you today. Do they actually make the same sauce? What does put the new 845 ahead though is speed. RPM is up from 3,250 to a solid 3,400, and impacts per minute have skyrocketed from 3,800 to 4,200 blows per minute. So if it's delivering the same torque, but everything is upping the ante in speed, a time test like we do here should register nicely. And while narrow, lightweight, and frankly quite comfortable, it's also by no means particularly a short impact driver at 5.1 inches. So let me introduce you to the latest Makita in the US market, the XDT19Z, because Makita has always been keeping things small but powerful in this category before it was even cool. The 19Z replaces or is updating the model XDT16, which replaces another 12 models that probably look just like it. The 19Z is a 1/16 of an inch shorter, 0.1 pounds lighter, and about the same torque, 1,590 inch-pounds. It's hard to say really one way or the other. Head on over to Tools and Stuff to figure all that out. I feel you need a degree in Makita to make heads or tails of this stuff sometimes, but this is the latest model you can buy. And it's good, like really good. How much torque it makes, I have no idea until today, but I've been using it for around 2 months and it's smooth like butter. Only issue being that it's about $200, 210 at places. That's some coin for an impact driver. Then yes, of course, lastly we have the Gen 4 Milwaukee 2953 that was so new when we broke it in testing that Milwaukee's repair center wouldn't take it back and said just return it to Home Depot. Our new replacement has been off getting tortured. We'll dive into that during our testing. So let's get into that testing. Up first we have our 5 seconds forward working torque test. We like this one because most impact drivers make their torque claims in this very test. Up first is the Makita versus that Gen 4 Milwaukee. This thing has to have the nicest trigger of most impacts I've ever used. Like spring pressure, potentiometer zones. I know we're numbers folk, but it's sweet. Great for starting machine screws in threaded holes during electrical work without making new, worse threads. $143 foot-pounds, okay, and its inch-pound rating converts to 133 foot-pounds, so we're already bringing that achievement home. Very good. Next up is the new DCF845 in yellow on screen versus the DCF850 in black and the Gen 4 M18. $134 foot-pounds. All right, not quite the 152 it advertises yet, and also under the DCF850 it should be matching, though still pretty close here. You can see those super high impacts per minute making headway out the gate, but the 850, which strangely despite being tiny weighs a bit more, comes in later with more significant hits, moving that needle. We normally head to reverse from here, but we're going to move into our 10-second forward torque test next so that the Gen 4 Milwaukee can join in on that fun. Here's the Makita in our forward max torque test. $166 foot-pounds. Well, it's above its 133 claim, but obviously not contending for overall lead here so far. Let's see if the DCF845 in yellow can gain ground in the matchup today. And a bit of a shock to us, the new 845 not only falls now noticeably behind the 850, but also in this test, slightly below the Makita. Its rapid impacting seems to only have taken it so far early on, but once things are tighter, Heavier, albeit less often blows from the 850, which benefits from a larger diameter hammer amplifying its moment of inertia, carries that model further into higher torque levels more effectively, at least it seems that way. Not that this is make it or break it sort of deal if you're driving deck screws or even small lags, but it's interesting to see from two tools rated for the same torque spec. Okay, on to reverse. Across the channel's history, Makita has always enjoyed reverse and made up ground here, so let's see where this one takes us up against the Milwaukee. So yeah, two things here. The Milwaukee broke on us during this test. That's why you see a flat line, but this Makita, not only unable to excel as usual in reverse, but barely able to build on its working torque test, which was only 5 seconds, half the length. And listen to that test in forward. Now listen to this test in reverse. Doesn't sound quite right, like a Metabo HPT triple hammer that's skipping a hammer or something. We do have it in its top mode. I know it has a bolt and other modes, but this one proved to be its top beans after testing others. None of them sounded happy in reverse, and we've been keeping a close eye on the results of this one, as it's rumored to be, well, essentially should be the new US version of the Japanese TD172D that we've tested before. A bit less so here, yeah, but pretty close. But when in reverse, it's miles away. After going over our footage and data, I think this thing has become defective in some way, at least in reverse, which is sort of the least useful setting for most impact drivers, luckily, so it's something I never noticed. But realistically, even if it made the same reverse torque here, what's really to be gained? It made sense when the US model was 150, 160 bucks and the Japanese model was 210, but these are even cheaper on eBay from Japan now, like $160. And you can even get the newer TD173DZ model out in Japan now, so I say just buy this one, even if this one was a fluke. Same awesome trigger, made in Japan, lots of fun colors to pick from. That's what I'd do. Okay, moving on to that flatline Milwaukee Gen 4. Seeing as we broke ours on day one on bolts, we sent our replacement that we bought ourselves over to Jim, our friend Jim over at Philly Fix, to see if he could torture test this thing until its final smoke was let out.
I've got a 1/2 inch lag and I've got a pressure treated 4x4. No pilot hole drilled. Let's see if we can break this thing. Gonna let it go. Dang it. All right, this time we've got a 5/8 inch lag and I've got a washer. Let's see if it works this time. Oh, it finally, oh, here we go. Started smoking. It did not die though. Let's see if we can kill it some more. Again, we're trying to kill this thing. While I do it, I'll just have to tell you what it says. Okay, 166. So it's, I got 171 as a peak reading in there. 177. Yeah, that got pretty toasty. Sorry, Torque Test Channel. Couldn't kill it for you.
So lots of heat and smoke, yes, but it lives on. It's headed back here to see if we can kill it with hard surface torque on bolts. But for now, I'd say, unless you plan on using this thing primarily for lug nuts, which would be silly, it gets a pass from us as just being an unlucky happenstance on that first one dying for us. It does happen. Okay, finally up in its last effort, we have the DCF845 taking on that 850 in reverse. Let's see it. Yes, 141. I know it seems almost like our dyno was reading low in reverse on the day, but we threw a Gen 3 M18 on here and even made a few extra foot-pounds than normal, we calibrate this thing before testing every day anyways. The DCF845 is a fast as heck driver, screws, spacks, even some short lags. I think it might sync them as quicker than the DCF850, but peak torque wise, something that they rated the same on the two models, perhaps why you're watching this channel right now, they don't quite match what's being written on the box. I imagine DeWALT just can't have an Atomic beating an XR in their line just because reasons. That all said, the 845 is super smooth, especially for a DeWALT, which are usually brutal. At high torque levels, it doesn't vibrate really around at all, even compared to the usually smooth Makita. It's a very comfortable, lightweight, no nonsense, still quite powerful, super fast impact driver. Hard to fault it for that. But we're about to anyways. Time to dive into the numbers. These power runs are divided by 5 on our impact driver ranking. That's 27, 32, and 28 for the DeWALT, and 29, 30, and 33 for the Makita. The 845 won't get much here, being graded on length, being a longer but narrow tool, but you can fit the LXT in between more wall studs and things like that, so 31.6 foot-pounds per inch and 36.9, neither of these being all that record-breaking. Both tools made beyond their torque claims and get the max of 100% here, pretty common for the category. Then as a function of price and power, that's 8.6 and 6.7 points, which totals 227.2 and 235.6, slapping both of them between the latest Bosch Freak and large but decently powerful and dirt cheap Harbor Freight. For the Makita, buy the Japanese one for around the same price or less right now on eBay. I liked it just as much as this one, and it's a bit better, even ignoring some anomalies. That thing really is just a pleasure to use, frankly. DCF845, if you're all about productivity, have to drive 500 deck screws in a day, want something comfortable, no fuss, and smooth, well balanced, get it. I think it's good. Does it beat Milwaukee Gen 3 or Gen 4? Nah, not too close. It doesn't match for torque even its little brother DCF850, which is rated for the same beans. Now, whether that matters to you, only you know. But hey, now you know more than what the brand wants you to know about their top line model. Appreciate you joining us. We make episodes like this at least every Friday. Click some buttons to see future episodes when they happen, and thanks for watching.